The Baltimore Ravens finished the 2023 regular season with a 13-4 record and were top 4 in both offensive points per game and defensive points per game allowed. They were the number 1 ranked scoring defense, and on average, they beat their opponent with a score of 28-16. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and all the signs were pointing to the Ravens getting to the Super Bowl for a rematch against a team they beat by double digits on Christmas night against the San Francisco 49ers. But as we know, that rematch never came, and they ended up losing in the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs with a score of 17-10. The 2023 Ravens looked like they were destined to be Super Bowl champions, and they fell short of the goal, which brings us to the present day. There's no way around this. The Ravens missed a big opportunity, and they missed their best chance at a Super Bowl in today's era. Yes, having an MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson and a Super Bowl champion head coach in John Harbaugh certainly gives them a better chance than a lot of other teams, but this was it. This was their year. Now we ask the question of what's next, and how can the Ravens get over the hump and get to the big dance? In today's video, we're going to break down why this year specifically was so vital for them, this offseason ahead for them, and some draft prospects and free agents they will be looking at. Now let's begin. Aside from being a great team and losing, there's a lot more to this for the 2023 Ravens. There's only one champion every year, and the reality is great teams are not going to win Super Bowls. It happens. But why this is such a big deal for the Ravens moving forward is there's an elephant in the room that's going to be there every time the Ravens get to the postseason for at least the next few years. The elephant in the room, of course, is Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. Before we dive into Lamar's numbers in the postseason, I do want to get ahead of this and say the entire loss is not on Lamar. Obviously, he didn't play good in the AFC Championship game, but to imply he is the sole reason for the loss is, well, not true. But back to the elephant in the room, and it's Lamar Jackson in the postseason. In 6 career playoff games, Lamar has 6 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and has a passer rating of 75.7. If you want to exclude the 2018 game against the Chargers and say he was a rookie, well, his 6 passing touchdowns in 6 games would go down to 4 and 5, and Lamar is noticeably a different player in the postseason. After the game against the Texans, in which Lamar had 4 total touchdowns, I thought the Ravens could easily beat the Chiefs as long as they played Ravens football and ran the ball effectively, which they did not, as Gus Edwards and Justice Hill combined for 6 carries in a playoff game, which is unacceptable. I thought the playoff loss was due in large parts to offensive coordinator Todd Monken as much as it was on Lamar, but this isn't something the Ravens will be able to ignore moving forward, referring to Lamar's postseason woes. This isn't a, oh well, he's young, or a, we weren't a good team, or anything along these lines. This was the year with everything coming together, and the result was 10 offensive points, 3 turnovers, and a home playoff loss. No matter what happens with the Ravens in the regular season next year, even if they go 15-2 or 16-1, which I don't think they will, and even if they look as dominant as they did in the 2023 regular season, none of it will matter until the playoffs because of the struggles Lamar has had in the postseason. Not only that, but the Ravens had a lot of things bounce their way entering their first playoff game against the Texans. They were, of course, the home team, but they got to play a rookie head coach and rookie quarterback in their divisional round playoff game, and not to take anything away from the Texans, but if the choices in the divisional round were the 3-seed Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, or the 4-seed Texans with CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, who would you rather play in order to advance further in the postseason? Not only did that part align with the Ravens succeeding in the playoffs, but from a football standpoint, the Bengals not being in the postseason due in large part to the sheer amount of injuries also helped them in a big way. I also think this plays into the frustration of the loss for the Ravens this year, knowing how many season-ending injuries they had in either 2021 or 2022, and knowing they couldn't do anything about it while watching the Bengals go to the Super Bowl one year and to the AFC Championship game in another. The Ravens were the healthiest team remaining in the postseason out of them, Kansas City, Detroit, and San Francisco, and they still failed to get the job done. Now, unfortunately for Baltimore, The final game of the 2023 NFL season will be played this week, and it is the last weekend of the year to get your football bets in. I have teamed up with DraftKings, and guys, right now is the perfect time to take your shot at the crown. DraftKings is giving all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly when they place their first $5 bet on anything. So make sure to download the DraftKings app now and sign up using my promo code ANALYSIS. If you are already signed up for DraftKings, like me, you can make a bet on Super Bowl 58 and get a bonus bet back. You will get a bonus bet in the amount of your initial wager. Max reward varies. If sports betting is not available in your state, don't worry. You can join in all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have a shot at winning cash prizes. But for new customers where sports betting is available, you can bet just $5 and you will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use my promo code ANALYSIS. Once again, that's promo code ANALYSIS, and a big thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. Now, another reason why this loss was so huge for Baltimore was this roster was absolutely loaded. You often hear about the business side of the NFL, and Ravens fans certainly heard about it last year with their franchise quarterback in Lamar Jackson, but the business side of the NFL is going to take a toll on the Ravens roster between 2023 and 2024. Not only will the roster take a toll, but we've already seen several Ravens coaches get a promotion elsewhere, and that started with former defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald, who is now the head coach of the Seahawks. In the case of Macdonald or any of the other coaches that went from position coaches to coordinators, congratulations, as that's a big jump in their personal lives and football careers. You almost have to jump at the opportunity when it presents itself because you never know if you're going to get a second opportunity. Ben Johnson is an exception to this and not the rule before anyone brings him up. The Ravens had 3 position coaches leave plus Macdonald, which is a tall order to fill in itself, as the results from 2023 really speak for themselves. They also have several defensive free agents that will most definitely have the opportunity to get paid elsewhere, led by Patrick Queen and Justin Madubuike. Madubuike was a 3rd round pick in 2020, and he is the classic case of an interior pass rusher that needs some time to develop. Madubuike was a 2nd team All-Pro in 2023 and had a fantastic year, as he would go on to have a career-high 33 quarterback hits, 13 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss, and had 64 pressures from the interior. His 64 pressures ranked 6th among interior defensive linemen, behind guys you can probably think of like Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and you get the point, and it is imperative the Ravens extend Justin Madubuike. This hasn't been discussed a whole lot by the national media, but I think it will be soon, and that's the emphasis the league is going on interior pass rush. Sure, people will occasionally say it's important to have a good defensive tackle, but if a team has a guy who can truly push the pocket from the interior, it messes everything up for the opposing offense. Quarterbacks can't step up, and if they try to evade the interior rusher by simply moving out of the pocket, that will naturally send them right into the arms of an edge rusher for what would essentially be a free sack created by the interior pass rusher. I know there will be rumblings or thoughts of Justin being a one-year wonder, but I don't think that's the case. Justin has gradually gotten better since his rookie year, and 33 quarterback hits in 1 year is downright insane, meaning that does not happen by accident. The Ravens aren't in the worst financial situation, as they can free up a ton of money by restructuring guys around and signing Madubuike, but one player they will not be able to sign long-term is Patrick Queen, or at least they simply won't. Queen had the best year of his career this year, and when the Ravens traded for Roquan Smith, that effectively signaled Queen's time in Baltimore was limited. They aren't going to pay 2 inside linebackers $20 million per year, and not only was the Roquan trade a sign of Queen's time coming to an end, but if that wasn't already enough, the selection of Clemson's Trenton Simpson in the 3rd round of the 2023 draft only made it more clear. The selection of Simpson was one of my favorite in the 2023 draft in terms of location, value, and future production, but it was clear they were drafting the eventual successor to Patrick Queen. There will be 4 starters from the Ravens defense that are free agents this year, and we already discussed Madubuike and Queen, but the others are Jadeveon Clowney and Geno Stone. Clowney is interesting because he had the best year of his career this year, as he had a career-high 71 pressures and had 9.5 sacks, which was second on the team to Madubuike. But Jadeveon will be 31 years old at the start of next season, and given he is coming off of a good year, he's going to have a lot of teams interested in him. If I were the Ravens, I would offer him a 3 3-year deal, with the guarantees being for the first year, and largely make the second and third year of the deal incentive-based, so the team is still protected in the long run. Geno Stone is a very tricky free agent to project because, whether you know this or not, he finished second in the NFL in interceptions in 2023 behind the Cowboys' DaRon Bland. Geno had a great year, but just being realistic, he's not going to be a 7-interception guy a year, and if a team offers Geno big money, well, he's a former 7th round pick, and you have to do what's in the best interest of you and your family. Whether that's stay in Baltimore or go somewhere else, we will soon find out, but there is a real possibility they lose Stone or Clowney in free agency. But the Ravens will also have to address some things on the offensive side of the ball, and that of course is the offensive line. Guard Kevin Zeitler is a free agent and will be 34, and he was a good free agent acquisition for them during the 2021 offseason, but this is a guy who's played over 12,000 career snaps, and the replacement plan will need to be in place, whether that's for 2024 or 2025. If Zeitler returns next year and plays at a good level, great and good for the Ravens, but there needs to be a backup plan for whenever he decides to hang the cleats up. The same also applies to right tackle Morgan Moses, who will be 33 this offseason and has 1 year left in his deal. Earlier in the video, we said the Ravens' cap situation isn't bad, and it's not. Yes, they have to pay players like Lamar Jackson and Roquan Smith, but that's a part of the NFL. You have to pay your good players. The only contract I would say is bad for the Ravens is left tackle Ronnie Stanley, because he's missed a lot of time over the past few years, but when he plays, he's usually pretty good. Unfortunately, he has a cap hit of $26 million next year, and the Ravens can't get out of it cleanly. The best case scenario to get out of the Stanley deal, if they were to go down this route, would be a post-June 1st cut in which the team would save $15 million at the cost of $11 million. If there are Ravens fans that think that idea is ridiculous, I would counter and say he hasn't played a full season ever in his career, and the best ability, of course, is availability. I would also argue paying Marlon Humphrey nearly $23 million isn't great value at this point in his career, as Marlon has played a full season just once in the past 4 years, and Marlon has 100 NFL games under his belt, and the corner position is a lot like the running back position, meaning they fade and go downhill pretty fast. Having $48 million in Stanley and Humphrey isn't the best, but it's far from the worst entering 2024. A lot of the Ravens' moves this offseason will be focused on retaining players from this year's roster, and the good news for them is they can financially keep both Madubuike and Clowney. Potentially having to fix your right side of the offensive line isn't ideal, and it would be risky putting all your chips in 2021 third-rounder Ben Cleveland to step up and say, sink or swim, buddy, here's the starting job. The Ravens will more than likely also have to get a new running back or two, as Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are free agents, so there's another position to fill, and especially with the Gus Bus, who's had 13 touchdowns this past year. In the draft, I would love for the Ravens to get another receiver to pair with Zay Flowers, and effectively have 2 good receivers on the rookie contract discount for the next few years, in a very similar fashion to what the Bengals did during the rookie contract window of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. If that means spending another first-round pick on a receiver, go for it. I would also like them to spend a top 100 pick on another corner and address the running back position during day 3 of the draft, whether that's on somebody like Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd, or Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Having Lamar on the team will take pressure off of the run game, so there doesn't need to be a do-it-all Christian McCaffrey type player, but they will need to address running back this offseason too. If the Ravens can enter the 2024 season by retaining Madubuike and Clowney and draft somebody like Troy Franklin in the first round, Kalen Carson in the late second round, or even Mike Sandristil from Michigan, and any of the running backs on day 3, I will feel a lot better about them moving forward. But the one big thing with the Ravens and their future is there's going to be a lot of noise about Lamar underperforming in the postseason. This was the year to get the championship. How will they respond? Well, I can't wait to find out. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 33% of people watching are subscribed, and it helps the channel's growth tremendously. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.